I bet together we can design the coolest one ever.
Yeah, but then we'd have to do something together, and I don't like working with other people.
I can tell.
Yeah.
And I still love Snoopy, but I had to get rid of him.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
He was dirty.
No.
He was old. Did you have a Snoopy?
No.
Have you ever gone cow tipping?
No.
Why are you wearing a shirt? Because normally...
Is this a thing? Are you gonna try to take my shirt off?
Do you know at the supermarket all the different types of eggs? Because you're
Yeah.
smart. Do you know the difference? We have to go to school to learn how to fucking buy eggs.
I don't know. I think
And we're all gonna die anyway, so I'm like,
True.
whatever. I'll just get the
True.
blue ones. I don't know.
blue is a good color.
Welcome to Wham, Bam, Thank You, Pam. I'm your host, Pam Gaslow, writer, former stand-up comedian, and mastermind behind the 50-year plan to success. I also learned the hard way that you don't bring your vibrator to rehab, and wrote a book about it. Here we have bold, unfiltered conversations about sex, relationships, personal lives, and pop culture with a sharp, sexy, and comedic edge. Wham Bam Thank You Pam is the wildly entertaining, no-holds-barred discussion you didn't know you needed. Hey guys, welcome to Wham Bam Thank You Pam. I'm Pam Gaslow. Today's guest went from a corporate engineer to a full-time modern abstract artist known for his vibrant oil paintings. He's based in South Florida and loves to paint with no shirt on. Julian Castro.
Modern abstract artist. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. No,
I mean,
it is.
look at this.
It is.
What is this?
Yeah, it is. It's modern abstract art, I guess.
I love it. So we're filming in his studio, and he has like a really cute camera, and I'm really excited. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for driving down.
Yeah, no problem. So I read your bio and everything
Yeah.
on your website, and I love your story. I'm an artist as well, so I can really relate to you and watching you evolve and overcome insecurities with, and you know, I guess self-esteem stuff, because we all kind of struggle with that. And to see where you are today, I was very inspired.
No, thanks.
And it's very positive to see other artists really pushing themselves and putting themselves out there and succeeding. And because I know it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
So first I want to talk about your background.
Okay.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Born and raised. My family's Portuguese. So they immigrated here, and I'm a first generation American. And I grew up here, just down the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And were you interested in art as a kid, or did that come later?
Yeah, I did a lot of art growing up. I liked art class. I also really liked just working with my hands. So I spent a lot of time in the garage with my dad, just building things and hammering nails into wood. I built a tree house. I had remote control cars. I would build tracks for the cars, mess around with the neighbors. I was just always very hands-on. I really liked art in high school. I did a lot of art classes, but they told you can't make money as an artist. So when I went to college, I studied engineering instead.
Right. Okay. So nobody ever encourages, nobody's parents, nobody encourages them to pursue art.
Never.
And it's sad. And same with acting, because I've interviewed actors and comedians, and they're always like, okay, well, you can do that, but have a real career first, or go study something real that you can actually make money doing, and then you can go back to that if you want. And art was the only class I liked also.
Really?
And I remember I went to sleepaway camps, and they were all sports.
Yeah.
And I hated it. The only
really?
class I liked was art. So finally, my parents sent me to an arts camp. And I really just felt like I connected so much more with the people there. And I was so happy. And it was just like a more grown-up environment. Because I went to a place called Bucks Rock. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I know this isn't about me, but I'm just telling you.
It's all about you.
So
it's the Pam show, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but it was really awesome because I was still really young, but you can get up and they had a silk screening studio and a jewelry studio
nice.
and glass blowing, and it was such an amazing place, and you could just choose where you wanted to go every day, instead of now you have to go canoeing and now you have to go play tennis. And I hated it. So I was so happy when they sent me to this place.
Interesting.
So what made you
Hold on, I have a question. So when you
Yeah.
say you're an artist now, what type of art do you
Well, I've always been creative, and I used to, like from a kid, like always
Yeah.
making something, even if it was like little bracelets, painting, drawings, creating 3D things. I made a whole little house for my Snoopy when I was young,
Nice.
and like a little closet for him, made of a shoebox, made it out of. It was like a little robot, and you stored his clothes in it.
Nice.
Can't believe I'm sharing this. And I've taken jewelry classes, like so many different
Yeah.
things, and. What was the question?
What type of art do you make now?
Okay, so then I evolved into digital art. I've sold, things that I've created, printed on canvases, and did a whole series of Chanel bags that had ice cream cones on them and weird stuff.
Okay.
And I used to do three-dimensional mixed media. I did a series of dresses that were all mixed media, so all different kinds. I can't paint, I can't draw, but you can't do everything.
Yeah.
I bet you can't make a Snoopy robot closet.
Probably can.
You can,
Yeah.
probably better than
I
mine.
can do everything.
Yeah. So you studied engineering. So how did you go from art, or were you just like, I'm smart and I need to actually make a living?
Well, I really wanted to make Snoopy robot closets, so I needed to get that engineering degree.
I bet together we can design like the coolest one ever.
Yeah, but then we'd have to do something together, and I don't like working with other people.
I can tell.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's okay. No, I'm sorry to others that need to work with people.
Maybe we could like email ideas and like you.
That could work. That
yeah,
could work.
like you can execute it. I could be like, here's a cute idea, and you can do it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea though,
Yeah.
and I still love Snoopy, but I had to get rid of him.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
He was dirty.
Oh.
He was old. Did you have a Snoopy?
No, I had some stuffed animals though.
Yeah, because
I
I'm
did.
older than you, so I don't know if was Snoopy still cool like when you were growing
Yeah,
up.
Snoopy was
okay.
cool.
Yeah, Snoopy
Yeah.
still is cool. What am I saying?
still cool.
Yeah,
OG. Anyways, you had a question?
I'm good.
Okay.
What made you go to school for engineering?
Oh, well, I just liked engineering. I liked building stuff, and I was really good at math and science, so it kind of just made sense. Looking at all the real job careers and majors, I don't know. I went to a private school here that was very college prep, and they were very also like, you're gonna go be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer or something legit.
Right.
So out of all the options that were legit, engineering was the best, and I actually liked it, so it's not a big deal.
What is engineering exactly? I don't want to sound stupid, but is it like?
So I did mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering is like things that move, and things that deal with power production and like temperature change. So like AC units is mechanical engineering, cars, engines, all that stuff is mechanical engineering. Chairs, it's all mechanical engineering. Civil on the other, like I started civil, but then I switched to mechanical. Civil is more things that don't move. So like
Okay.
building structures, bridges.
That's what I think of. Yeah.
Yeah, roads, that's all civil. Mechanical is like things that move. A good metaphor that I learned in school, mechanical engineers designed weapons, civil engineers designed targets.
Okay.
So,
You're smart. I don't really still understand what you did, but
yeah.
does anyone?
Uh,
What was your job? So you worked for.
I worked at BP. So, in the Gulf of Mexico, there are platforms, oil rigs. There are floating structures on the surface of the Gulf. 6,000 feet below, there's the wells, the holes in the ground that pull out the oil. At each of those wells, there's equipment on the floor of the ocean that all connects to each other and then connects back up to the platform,
Okay.
which does a preliminary refinement. It like separates the oil from the water and the sand, and then it sends it out into a pipeline to Louisiana, where all like the processing plants are. My team, we designed and installed all the stuff that was on the floor of the ocean. So I was in the office at BP. I did mostly like project management, because we subcontracted the actual design and engineering and testing and safety stuff to other firms. So they were the hardcore scientists. I was just making sure things stayed on track and on budget and stuff like that.
That's impressive and complicated. If
Yeah.
you don't know anything about engineering like myself.
Yeah.
And you did that here in Florida?
That was in Houston. I went to college in Houston, Texas.
I've never been to Texas, just in case anyone cares.
I think they were wondering.
I'm not bragging. I mean, it's hot there.
It's hot.
Yeah, I'm not
but
going.
Yeah, it's a good spot. It's worth it, Get a New Yorker like you out of your comfort zone.
I've been out of my comfort zone plenty,
Okay.
trust me. So you have the successful career, you had great salary, benefit security, stability. And you said in something you wrote that you felt like you'd made it in life, but you said to yourself, how did I get here? I have everything, but why does it feel so wrong? You said you felt lost and unfulfilled and that you were in a 6-figure jail. I felt that. It's really powerful, and I understand it as a creative person because I've had 9-to-5 jobs that I literally thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, and how did you get the balls to leave such a stable career for the uncertainties of the art world? Was there a specific moment or experience that prompted this?
Yeah, there was. I had a friend in college who was also named Julian, and we would talk about like matters of existence and spirituality and stuff. And because he's from Taiwan and he has a Buddhist background, and he always told me about his dad, who was like super Buddhist, meditated a lot, and I was curious about that stuff. So one night, like a year after college, we were working. His dad came to visit Houston, and I was all excited to meet him. And we had dinner together, like me and some friends and his dad, and I asked him to teach us how to meditate. So he taught us how to meditate that night after dinner. And he said, if you keep going, I can't tell you what the benefits will be. It's going to be unique to each person, but if you keep doing this every day, you will experience benefits. So at that time, I was happy in my job. And then 3 months later of daily meditating was when I started to realize, like, how did I get here? What am I doing with my life? And I started to realize that everything you read, that I was unfulfilled. And I think the biggest thing at that point was I realized I didn't choose where I was. I had kind of just gone along with the path.
Which
of
is
like
what
my school.
so many people do in life, and they
Yeah.
just like, this is next and this is next, and you have to get a job, and you have to go to college, and then you have to get married, then you have to have a baby.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so easy to just follow that path because everything is designed for us to follow it.
Oh yeah, doing anything else is
Yeah.
hard.
But what are the chances that everyone actually wants that same path?
No.
So that helped me realize that maybe I don't want that path, and maybe there's other paths that I want more.
And how did you
Actually do it.
Yeah, because that's like really balls to take a risk like that.
Yeah.
That's what I respect so much, because I think so many people aren't happy
Yeah.
in their path that they're following that everybody does.
Yeah.
And most people stay in it, first of all, because they have to for financial reasons, or it's so scary to go against the grain
Yeah.
and be like, no, I want to be an artist.
Well, I know everyone has their situations, but I think what makes it so hard for people is they think they have to. I don't think anyone has to be doing anything. I understand if you have kids and blah, 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 and you need to be making the money, it's a lot easier to stay, but there's always, if the will is strong enough, there's always a way to not have to stay doing what you're doing. Granted, at the time I was 24, no kids, no relationship, no house. It was much easier. There's easier times to do it, but that's also why I did it. There was a lot of factors, but I realized that first year of work, I was happy. Then I learned how to meditate. Then I had all these realizations. So that whole second year of work was when I was like plotting my escape, aggressively saving money. And then I wasn't sure if I wanted to either go to grad school for something else, go get a different job at probably a startup or a smaller company, or take time off and go backpacking and travel. So I did a lot of soul searching, eventually realized I wanted to backpack. And it was kind of like, like YOLO. I'm like, I'm young.
Yeah.
I don't have any attachments really, so I might as well do the craziest thing. It was also like, I saw my boss and my boss's boss and all the older guys at work, and I was just like, I don't want to end up with that life that they have. So that also helped. And another
You saw the future.
And then I was also like, what would my future self, and then I was like, if I died in 5 years, what would I be happiest that I did? And it was like, travel and leave. Like, I could die. I probably won't, but I could.
Right.
I don't want to wait until retirement. The conversation with so many people was, when I retire, I'm going to do this. When I retire, I don't want to wait 40 years.
100%.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And then, because I do travel a lot,
Yeah.
and like, I'm just like, do it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'll go there one day. I'm like, when?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like, why not now? And so many
Exactly.
people think that, oh, I want to do that one day. I'm like, do it. And
Yeah.
especially when I turned 50, I was like, holy shit. Like, now the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And if you're fortunate enough, and not everyone is, to do things while you're healthy also, while you can, because you don't know what's going to happen down the line.
That too.
So where did you backpack?
I got a one-way ticket to Costa Rica, and that's where I started. I was there for 6 weeks, then Nicaragua for 6 weeks, and then random stuff, and then I ended up in Argentina for a couple months and Brazil for a couple months, and those were the highlights.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
was it great?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. And so, okay, so then you came back, and what happened?
So I came back, and my thought was to get a job at a startup, like find something more interesting to me, engineering related or entrepreneurship. But I met someone while I was traveling, an American, and we had an idea for a startup for a software product, and we decided to try to do that. She was living in Costa Rica, so we were doing it remote. And at the same time, I needed to make money to cover my living expenses. So I decided during my travels, I had a camera with me, so I got really into photography. And so I was like, all right, maybe I'll try freelance photography. And this was like a joke experiment to myself. I was like, that'd be hilarious if people paid me to take pictures.
Haven't we all thought that?
Yeah. So
I have like 50,000 photos on my phone. I'm like, what do I do with these? And at one point, I was like, should I sell them? I'm just like, is anyone going to buy them? You know?
maybe if you package them correctly.
Well, I know. Can we work together?
Man,
You want to go through all my 50,000 photos with me?
Yeah, what's your budget?
We'll talk about it after.
So yeah.
So you did some freelance
I
stuff?
ended up back in Miami. I stayed on a friend's couch for a couple weeks just because I also didn't know where I wanted to live. So I stayed with him to like test drive Miami, and I ended up moving in with him, getting a bed, and I know, right?
Congrats, yeah.
Which stayed on the floor for 4 years. I never got a bed frame.
So it was a mattress?
I got a mattress. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually still on the floor,
Yeah.
but I like it that way.
You still sleep on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
But not in your friend's apartment. I think you.
no.
you
I have my
moved
own
on.
place now. Yeah.
I can help you with the bed frame if you want to like evolve.
Yeah, maybe. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure. It's better than a blow-up mattress.
No, that's a hard no for me.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I was dating this guy in my 20s, and he was living on somebody's couch, so I got him an air mattress, so we could like both be on that.
Yeah.
And then his roommate would walk over us in the morning, and then we broke up. I think he took it on camping trips. But
Oh,
it's a fun
nice.
story. Yeah, it was
Nice.
pretty good. I'm like, I'm
Okay.
not gonna hook up with you on this couch. Like,
This is a small couch.
I don't know, but I wanted to sleep over.
Yeah.
So, I helped out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respect that.
I'm good like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happened?
So I started doing freelance photography, and people started giving me money to take pictures,
That's awesome.
which was wild.
I want money for pictures.
Yeah,
and other
it's
things.
fun. Except now in the state of AI, I don't know how long
Right.
photography is going to be around.
Because any picture you could just Google, and everyone has the same picture from the same places. Not really.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. That's not true. Unless you shoot like wild animals. You're not at that level, though, I think.
Yeah, no, I did a little, but once, I don't know. I feel like you can make any image you want with AI now.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better.
I know, it's scary.
Yeah.
So you got into the arts. You got into photography, and then eventually painting.
Okay, so when I got into photography, it blew my mind that people would pay me because I didn't go to school for it, so I have no degree. It was fun, it came naturally to me, and I enjoyed it.
But you're like, someone's gonna pay me for.
And people
because it's
pay
the
me for those
opposite.
things. It's the total opposite
Right,
of what
you
I
went
had
to
before.
school, you had to take tests.
Yeah,
you
I
had
worked
to-
my ass off for
Right,
4 years plus. I kind of enjoyed it, but I didn't like the work, and
I feel like every test I studied really hard for in college, I did terrible on, and
Really?
everything I put no effort to, I just did well at.
yeah, I think that's like the natural condition of how we're meant to live. Like if something's easy and doesn't take effort, that's probably what we're meant to do.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I didn't really have art training either. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't. I guess it's good to have knowledge and information, but now you can look everything up.
Yeah, true.
You don't have to go to school for anything.
Oh, totally agree.
And
Totally
I think
agree.
some people just naturally, I know photographers that have no training.
Yeah.
You don't tell people you have no training.
Well, you can. You
Or
actually
you can, and they
You can say
respect
I'm
it
self-taught
more.
because
Yeah.
there's this allure to like self-taught and like
It's true.
it's like wow, natural talent.
Right.
Yeah.
You can go to school for that?
Yeah. But then there's other people that really care about credentials. So those are not my people.
Yeah, I mean, I've had girlfriends throughout my life that are so stuck on what school a guy went to,
Yeah.
and I'm just so the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care if you started like in that corner
Yeah.
and you didn't take a class, and I just care about what you produce, how smart you are, your personality. I
Yeah.
don't care,
True,
you know, because
true.
I went to college, I learned basically nothing because I drank the entire time and didn't take it seriously. So,
Yeah.
you know, putting a school or a label on someone to me is
Yeah.
insane.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. It's like I get it for maybe a couple of years after college, but after that, who cares?
Yeah, right. Nobody's like, what school did you?
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer,
True.
that's a necessity.
True.
But I just wasted 4 years. It's sad to say, and
But don't
I
you-
wasn't happy.
But do you think you learned and experienced valuable social stuff?
I'm not going to share what I learned on this podcast.
Why? It's the Pam show.
Oh, you know, I mean, I was drunk.
Yeah.
I had a drinking problem, and I
Okay.
was miserable. So
okay.
I drank my way through college.
All right.
And all I wanted to do was get out and graduate. So, you know, I was so messed up and depressed that it didn't even occur to me I was there to learn. And I just felt like in high school I was in this safe little bubble of life, and you know, everything was structured and these are your friends
Yeah.
and this is what you do. And then they're like, oh, now you go to college, and I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
And why? And I don't know what I want to study, and I don't really like school, and I don't really like being away from home. And I don't like living in Washington, D.C. I didn't like any of it. And it's scary.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I felt like everyone else knew how to do things, and I had no clue. I'm like, how do you sign up for classes? How do you know what classes you want to take? Why are we here? You know, like, where's the bar? And so that's the path I followed for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was literally horrible. Anyway, that's what happened to me. But you can learn life stuff. You don't have to go to school. That's what I'm saying. I'm not a big proponent of school.
Of
It's a good thing I
college
don't
or-
have kids. Of college, yeah.
Yeah, I have mixed opinions on it.
I do too. 'Cause
Like if I had kids, would I push them to college or not?
now it's so different.
Maybe.
It depends what they want to learn and
I
if they
agree.
want to
It depends.
go.
It depends.
Yeah, because you have to have plan B. You can't just be like doing nothing.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So, okay. So how did you finally get to
Painting.
painting?
So, getting money for photography was mind blown number one.
Definitely.
That was in 2017 when that started. So between that and 2020 COVID, photography turned into also like video production and digital marketing and branding and like all these creative services.
And how did you learn how to do that?
The internet, YouTube University.
Loves. Yeah.
Also meeting people, just like studying. I've realized from then until now, I love marketing and psychology and consumer behavior. Even in college, like I fantasized about majoring in psychology.
I was a psych major.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, so I love that stuff. And I took a business minor, and my favorite classes there was organizational behavior and marketing. So this whole time working as a freelance marketing agency, essentially, I just really enjoyed learning all that stuff.
You're so lucky that you had these skills, because to be able to create your own art, sell
Well,
it,
yeah.
and market it, because for me, I just feel like all I do is create and then I'm lost.
Yeah.
So you're so lucky that you have that ability.
Well, the skill, yes. And then looking back, I'm like, thank God I did all this. I learned how to market with clients before I got to doing it for myself. But also, I have a lot of creatives and artists, friends, and people that on the internet ask me for advice. Honestly, the skills are one thing. Having the courage to put yourself out there and charge money for it is even harder than the skills.
Yeah.
Because the skills can be learned, but the other stuff, like the emotional work, that's more important, and that's the scary stuff that most people avoid.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And asking for money for things you created is difficult.
It's very hard,
Because
especially if it's art, because your soul made it. So it's like your own thing. Like it's so much easier to promote someone else's work.
Right.
Like,
Here-
oh, check out their
right.
fucking stuff, whatever.
Right. Or do you want to buy this dishwasher? It's $500.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah,
You
without
either
batting
want-
an eye, it'd be like it's $500.
Right.
But if you're like, I made this jewelry piece, it's $500.
Right. It's hard. And, you know, the thing about art is nobody needs it. people have to want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still figuring out how to market it in a way so it's like a need.
Yeah.
Because I had to convince myself that it's a need or realize, because I think part of the reason I didn't go into art earlier was because I thought it's unnecessary. Like my mind, I was so logical and analytical and like engineer. Like if this thing doesn't serve a purpose, like what does this do? It doesn't feed me, it doesn't shelter me, it doesn't do anything. But emotionally,
It feeds your soul.
I've learned that art is a need emotionally. I truly believe that now, because, and architecture and design and everything, because how do you feel in a hospital versus how do you feel in a 5-star hotel lobby? Emotionally, it's night and day. So walking into a beautiful home with nice furniture and art on the walls and plants, it's emotionally you're so much nourished.
It's
and
100% true. Because
so
I'm just
necessary.
sitting here thinking, okay, if I didn't have any art on my walls, it's depressing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people sleep on it.
Yeah.
You need to be surrounded by beauty.
100%. It's so important to me. And my home is my sanctuary.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like every little thing and every little like sculpture.
Yeah.
And I love walking in there. It makes
Yeah.
me feel so good.
Yeah.
And when people have nothing, I'm like, there's no personality here.
Totally agree.
You know, and especially, I've been in people's apartments, like rich people. This bothers me. Very rich people who paid someone to do everything.
Yeah.
And it has no personal
So generic.
touch. Yes.
Yeah.
Even if they pay them to pick out the art, you can tell. You're like, that just goes with everything else, and
Yeah.
somebody did it for you. And I'm not saying they didn't approve it or they
Yeah.
weren't like, I like that, but to me, it's so fun to go out and find the stuff that I want to look at, and I love that part. So once you left the corporate world, did you ever think about going back?
I have fantasized about it a few times. I still do, because art, working like freelancer and as an artist now, I have yet to figure out how to consistently have sales every month. So it can be an emotional roller coaster at times when it's like feast and famine.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I fantasize about going back to the corporate world and having a steady paycheck. Like that'd be
And-
great.
Right. And you know what? And if you do, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Like you can change your mind. You could say, okay, so now I want to go back to corporate, and then you want to leave again. And at least you have that ability and that education and knowledge and skills
Yeah.
to fall back on.
Yeah,
So-
I could.
You're like, I don't really want to do that.
I don't.
No, I
Honestly,
get it.
a couple months ago, I was like strongly considering it. I'd say like once a year, I consider it enough to go look at job postings online. And once I start reading them, my body just like shrivels and I get all tight and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Okay. I understand that. What did it feel like when you sold your first piece?
In 2019, I started painting again, like on the side, just for fun, because of the book. Have you heard of The Artist's Way?
Yeah.
So have you
I
done
read
it?
that book a long time ago.
I should do it again. So I did
Okay.
it in 2019 and it got me back into painting. And then when COVID happened in 2020, like all my marketing and photography clients canceled because everyone was freaking out and we couldn't be next to each other. So that's when I was first like, let me try marketing my own art and posting about it and stuff like that. So April 2020 is when I sold my first painting. And it was, so I thought photography was mind-blowing to make money for that, but making money for art was like even more mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And because I was,
You like created that
it's
with
like I
your
made
hands
this.
and your mind.
and
yeah.
there's no homework. Because with photography, like we shoot, they pay, we shoot, then I need to edit it, then I need to deliver it, and they have to be happy. Sometimes they want re-edits. So there's like this slight anxiety of, I hope they like the photos or the videos, especially all the editing. But with painting, like I made this painting, you either like it or you don't, and you buy it and then done.
Right.
And this guy just bought it without even seeing it in person.
Oh,
I just sent
cool.
him photos of it.
Right. How'd he find you?
We've been friends for a few years. We met at a coffee shop in Miami. He's similar. He was a lawyer his whole career, but also doing sculptures on the side. So we kind of bonded over those topics. But yeah, he bought my first painting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember I've sold art, I've sold jewelry. I had a kids' clothing line for like 10 years.
Oh, that's cool.
And I switched from art to kids. Don't even ask how I got into kids' clothes.
Wondering.
I don't even like kids. I have no kids.
I was gonna say, I feel like people who start kids companies have kids.
No, I don't have kids.
And that's why they
But
do
I
it.
feel like I have a very juvenile mentality
Okay.
with art and whimsy and stuff,
Okay.
and that's how I like to create.
Okay.
So I started with women's, and then I met a woman, and she's like, "Oh, I'm a kids rep." She's like, "You should I made some samples for kids because I thought they were so cute, not because I wanted to sell them. And she's like, I'll rep you. And I did a trade show and it took off. I was like, oh, well, here we go.
Cool.
And it was really fun for me. But I remember thinking, nobody needs art, but kids need clothes.
True.
And so I was like, let's go with this for now.
True.
And so that took off. But I really enjoyed it. And I got to be like hearts and rainbows, like little girl stuff that I like. But after a certain amount of time, I thought, this is so mindless. Even though I was really successful, I was just like, all right, I need to use the other side of my brain now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, how many more hearts can you put on a shirt?
Kids' clothing must be great, though, because as they grow up, they need to keep buying new clothes.
Yes. And then the moms would be like, oh, my daughter sleeps in your shirt and she won't take it off. And I loved hearing that. And it's the kind of stuff I'd want to wear if I was a little girl.
Nice.
And it was fun. It was an interesting time. So that's that. So you have a really great digital presence because you have the marketing background and, you know, how to make the videos and stuff. And what ways has your online presence, particularly on Instagram, influenced your art career and helped it grow?
Oh, everything. It's how I get clients and buyers and
It's
collectors.
unbelievable.
Yeah, because I haven't gotten into the whole art gallery and art fair world. I've dabbled in it, but I don't know. I've really enjoyed figuring things out myself and kind of doing it my own way.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit of a rebel like that.
It's very rewarding also. And then you don't have to wait for a show and then they take 50% or whatever and it sits there. And
yeah, and there's also too much politics and networking and stuff in that world, which I can do. I can turn it on, but I don't enjoy it.
I don't either.
Like I'd rather, instead of spending a whole weekend setting up a booth and all that stuff, I can put all those hours into digital marketing and I'm going to reach way more people that I know are interested in art. And it's going to be much better.
And also, you don't really like being around people that much. So I know I'm the same way.
No, I don't mind it, but it's just a lot of effort. Like I've done some shows and like I'm exhausted.
It's exhausting. Just even bringing it there and setting it up. I've done that years ago, but we didn't have social media when I was doing it.
Yeah.
But you're really good at that.
But now, like literally this week, I'm thinking about how to not rely on social media so much. Because right now I'm very dependent on social media. And social media is also exhausting. I need to feed the algorithm all the time. She's hungry. And if I stop, she stops serving me leads.
You can't win.
I know.
It just doesn't stop.
It's pros and cons to everything. So it's
my God. I took this also from something you wrote, that you're living proof that life does not have to look like what other people told you to do, what your family or schools told you to do. Life can be absolutely anything you want. I know that my purpose is to inspire others by sharing my art with the world. I love that. And that's so encouraging. It's really just such a positive statement for people that are struggling with what to do, and it's amazing. And also I love that you had on your website a page where people can ask you questions about art. That is so thoughtful and so kind. I've never seen anybody have that. And it's so selfless too, because so many people, I mean, now we have ChatGPT, but before I was one of those people, I'm like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do that? What paint do you use? Where do you get the canvas? Like everything always overwhelmed me. So I just think it's really kind that you would offer help to people that have questions. Because I feel like my whole life, all I had is questions and nobody had the answers. Or I didn't know who to ask. Yeah. Literally, like the first thing, and unless you go to art school and you know what paint to use and what canvas to use and how do you stretch the canvas, I mean, everything was so difficult. Same thing. Like I taught myself everything, and even starting this podcast, I swear, if it wasn't for ChatGPT, I would have quit. Because there's so many details that I would have been like, those are my questions. I would have been like, I don't know, I'm done. Like this is just too much. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's also something that I realized, at least for me. School trained me to have instructions and to have a guide. Mm. And then in life, there's no guide or instructions.
Right. That's the problem.
So like the skill of figuring out how to do a podcast or how to start an art business, we didn't really learn that in school.
Yeah, figuring that all out is, you come out into the world and you're just like, but how? And then I think everyone else knows how to do it.
Yeah, true.
Right?
And then
I'm
there's
like,
imposter syndrome.
Everybody knows how to do it except me. And how did they learn? And they're doing it right and I'm not doing it right. And, even when I started making T-shirts for kids, I'm like, well, how do you? And I'm like, oh, whatever. Just do it this way.
Yeah, totally agree.
And it
well,
worked.
I've learned because I study people like artists. I'll stalk the shit out of artists and watch their interviews and all this stuff.
Right.
And I've learned that no one knows what everyone just is figuring it out. Everyone is just using their gut sense of like, I think this will work.
Right.
Because like, yeah, I also thought, oh my God, all these artists know the right way to do everything and I know nothing. But that's not the case. Everyone is figuring out their own stuff.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
And everyone's breaking the rules that you learn in art school. Like, oh, you should prime your canvases this way so they last longer, blah, blah, blah. But half the artists I see at Art Basel don't do that. And it's,
right.
I'm just like, oh.
It's like, a good lesson that you don't learn soon enough in life.
Yeah.
And I think it holds people back also. And I think it held me back. So what advice would you give to anyone looking to transition into a creative career or from a different field?
Man, just do it. I would say one thing that helped me was to think about like what's the worst case scenario, and if the worst case scenario really happened, then what would you do about it, and just keep digging around that train of thought. And that really helped me realize that if the worst case scenario happened, it wouldn't be that bad. I'd be okay.
And it's probably not going to happen.
And it's probably, well, first of all, yeah, it's probably not going to happen, but I would be okay. And that kind of helped. And then then the other one that I said before, if I die in 5 years, will I wish that I did? Like, what would my future self be happy that I did?
Yeah. Because you don't really want to be older and with remorse and regret.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though we'll all have some of it.
Yeah, true.
And it's like, I'm never enough. Oh, I should have done harder. I should have done this more. And then I'm taking a nap. And I'm like, but you need to take a nap.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Nobody's harder on us than we are.
True.
And we have to be nice to ourselves. And they're like, would you treat somebody else the way you treat yourself? I learned this in rehab.
Yeah, I know.
And the answer is no. I hope it's no for you also.
Yeah, no, I've been working on that, being more graceful with myself and compassionate.
Because people look at me, they're like, you do so much. I'm like, oh my God, I don't. And I'm learning like a whole program in 3 days. And I'm like, well, maybe. But in my head, I'm like, it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
I'm so meticulous and crazy and a perfectionist. And even editing my own podcast. And I'm like, oh, well, that little line there. I'm like, oh my God, nobody cares.
True.
But for me, I have to do it. And I've learned perfectionism really holds you back from doing a lot of things too. I'm like, well, if I'm not going to do it perfect, I'm not going to do it. So it's all just crazy shit. All right, what's next for you?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like, what do you want to do now? I have some other really important questions. Like, have you ever gone cow tipping?
No.
Okay.
I've done some stuff.
You gonna want to tell us one thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Like causing trouble as a kid.
Okay, yeah, give me like one
Cow
story.
tipping? I haven't done. So I grew up here in a city, so there weren't cows.
There weren't cows where I was either.
What did we do? We've shot paintballs at cars,
That's
like
nice.
hid in the bushes. Also tennis balls, water balloons. We caused a ruckus in traffic.
Like boy shit.
Boy shit.
Yeah.
Did
You
a lot
didn't
of
like
boy
tell
shit.
anyone though, right? I mean, don't say it on here. You can tell me later.
We didn't hurt anyone, but I think statute of limitations, or what is it? Yeah.
Okay, my last question is really important. Do you know at the supermarket, because I was thinking about this the other day, like all the different types of eggs, because you're smart. Do you know the difference? Because I don't, I'm like the blue or the pink or the organic or the brown, like what, how?
This is a rabbit hole for me.
Okay.
Not
this
the
is
eggs.
just another thing in life. I am an adult now. I go to the supermarket, so now I have to study eggs and I have to look up what's the difference between this egg and that egg. Like, what is happening?
Well, don't even get me started on branding at the supermarket. I buy pasture-raised eggs.
Okay, that sounds healthy.
Yeah, apparently. But also, like, how do I know? Apparently, these pasture-raised chickens live in a pasture and they cluck around and eat bugs and worms, and so that makes their diet healthier and the eggs healthier for us. But in the supermarket, every time I see the word natural on something,
What does that mean?
what does that mean? Because technically everything everywhere came from nature eventually, right? So you could slap the word natural. So when something's like, oh, it's natural, I'm like, yeah, but what does that fucking mean? Now that I've done marketing, I've learned all these hacks that marketers use and branding use to make things sound better than they are. So same with the eggs. It's like pasture raised, but what does pasture raised mean? And then there's organic pasture raised and non-GMO pasture raised and normal pasture raised.
Like, to go to school to learn how to fucking buy eggs?
I don't know. I think.
And we're all gonna die anyway, so I'm like,
True,
whatever. I'll just get the blue ones. I don't know, like.
Blue is a good color.
And you see it with all the food. I'm like, how do we know any of this is true?
Well, same with the media and the news and the government.
Right, okay,
That's my whole
this,
thing.
This is a whole
It's
other
like,
thing, yeah.
how do I know anything is true? Last weekend, I was getting in heated conversations with some friends about news stuff, like politics. And I'm just like, hold on, how do either of us know that anything what
Yes.
we're saying is actually true?
Yeah.
Because everything that we're basing our opinions on, I saw on a little screen right here,
Yeah.
not here. So how do I know?
And my friend argues with me about that. He's like, no, that news is wrong. I'm like, but where are you
do you
getting
know?
your right news from that you think is, what?
How do any of us know?
All right, well, this is going to be the next show. We'll talk more about this stuff.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do it at the supermarket.
Yeah, we should walk around the supermarket and just talk
That
shit
would be
about all the
great.
stupid marketers.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you so much. And tell people where they can find your art and follow you.
They can follow me on juliancastro.art. That's my website and my Instagram.
Why are you wearing a shirt? Because normally,
Is this a thing? Are you going to try to take my shirt off like Megan did?
like Megan did?
No, I paint without a shirt occasionally, usually, because it's more comfortable. Also, I paint, there's a lot of reasons.
No, but also because you look good and you know it's going to draw people's attention.
Sex sells.
Yeah.
It's the oldest trick in the book.
I should have done it in a bikini 30 years ago. Not that I can't
Should've.
do it now, I'm not going to.
Hey, rock it.
Yeah. But
Oh,
that
but
could have been, if I had Instagram when I was 25,
Yeah.
I would have been doing that.
I know.
I'm
it
upset
works.
now.
But no, but even if I didn't have cameras, I would probably have my shirt off working art.
You're one of those guys.
Yeah, because I'm also leaning over stuff and then the shirt drips into, like falls into it. When that happened the first time, I was like, shirt's gotta go.
Right. All right, this was fun. Thank you, Julian.
Thank you. Cut.